Thank you, Madam Moderator, and welcome everyone to the 2025 Annual Congregational Meeting of Peace Presbyterian Church. Each year, this meeting is a time to look back at the previous calendar year. 2024 was a year of significant change for Peace Presbyterian Church by any measure. At the start of the year, we were well into our treasurer transition, which meant not only identifying and electing a new treasurer, but also hiring a part-time accountant, installing new software, establishing a finance committee, identifying a new audit team, and drafting new policies and procedures. Special thanks to the session, administration committee, Walt Swing, Lynn Wallace, Letty Dimitro, Marcia Gammett, David McMillan, and Bill Chater for your work in ensuring a smooth transition. By spring, we learned that our beloved pastor would soon answer the call of another church. Another transition, much greater, was upon us. Immediately, we began to assess our and address them with available resources. Our interim plan required redistribution of many responsibilities: new pastoral voices, a new moderator, new administrators for 10+ accounts, new responsibilities for our Christian education and worship committees and worship team. Thank you to each and every person who stepped up to help to fill the gap. Too many to mention. You know, and God knows who you are. We also had a difficult transition for the peace session. On June 2nd, 2024, active ruling elder and session member Ray Britt completed his baptism. 2 days later, medical reasons required Sandra Blackburn to resign from the session. Ray's leadership as moderator of the property committee and Sandra's leadership of the missions committee were seasoned and sorely missed. Finally, after nearly 18 months of prayer, planning, writing, and negotiating contracts, more inspections than we could keep track of, and physical plant upgrades in excess of $200,000, the majority of our education wing was leased, and Northwood Temple Early Education Academy's Peace Campus became a reality, with 3- and 4-year-olds full of wonder becoming part of the life of peace. So today, we will review the collective work of our sessional committees, our year-end financial report for 2024, and our 2025 budget as provided by Treasurer Lynn Wallace and approved by the session. We will also elect our 2025 nominations committee. We'll then adjourn our annual meeting. Following the adjournment of the annual meeting, please remain for 2 final things. We will recognize our ruling elders who completed their 3-year terms of service on session at the end of 2024. Following adjournment of the annual meeting, we'll call to order a very brief meeting of the Peace PC Corporation for the purpose of filling an officer vacancy. The corporation exists to determine matters involving the buying or selling of property. As such, the corporation has seen very little activity in recent years. Nevertheless, as part of our 501c3 status, we maintain a board of trustees. According to the Peace bylaws, our trustees are our seated session members. Officers are vice president, president, secretary, and treasurer. Sandra Blackburn was elected to fill a 1-year term due to Terry Merritt's vacancy in the 2024 session. She is not pictured here. You see 2 moderators, Pastor Becky for the first 4 months of the year and Pastor Sandy Thomas for the remaining 8 months of 2024. Other members of the 2024 session were Ray Britt, Bob Ty, Walt Swing, Brenda Britt, Rachel Reyes, Bill Chater, Sue Ty, and Rebecca Chater. Sessional reports include the activities of the various committees moderated by the members of the session. Rather than individual committee reports, over the past couple of years, We have instead done an aggregate activity report in chronological order with photos, which is what we have prepared for you again this year. Our session committees included administration, congregational care, fellowship, hospitality and growth, missions, property, and worship and education. In January, we kicked off the year with Epiphany Sunday and the discovery of our 2024 star words. Our star words prompt us to reflect over the course of the year on the special meaning that God gives to them in our lives. We also celebrated our baptism and the symbol of the seashell on Epiphany Sunday. This photo shows us in the sanctuary and on Zoom, sharing in the service, receiving our seashells, symbolizing remembrance. The sacred overlap was the focus of our Christian education book study in January and February. We installed officers elected by the congregation to serve on session. As Rachel Reyes was a first-time session member, her ordination was also included in the service. On the same day, Speaker Karen Venable Buckner, a missionary in Zambia, Africa, and relative of the Freemans, shared with the Presbyterian women her missionary work. The Presbyterian women have donated Bibles to Karen for participants in her programs. Co-treasurers Lynn Wallace and Letty Dimitro were elected later in January. Letty subsequently made a decision to step down, with Lynn now treasurer. Letty's knowledge of accounting made her contribution during the treasurer transition invaluable. The session also approved the hiring of Mr. James Moisley as our part-time accountant. He has taught accounting classes at FTCC for over 20 years and came highly recommended by another Presbyterian church accountant. In February, we enjoyed fellowship together as part of the Super Bowl of caring and chili cook-off. With 150 food items and $500 raised by Peace, we achieved our second highest contribution of the past 7 years. Our Lenten season activities included the burning of the palms, Ash Wednesday, and a Lenten discussion group. Our Lenten activities began with the burning of the palms on February 11th, Ash Wednesday, the 14th, and the Lenten discussion group on the 27th. And Elder Hildy Tobler was recognized by the Presbytery on February 2024 as our 2023 Faithful Saint. March began with the 65th wedding anniversary of Walt and Loretta Swing on March 1st, celebrated by friends and family on March 3rd following worship in the Fellowship Hall. Holy Week included the observance of Palm Sunday, Maundy Thursday, Stations of the Cross on Good Friday, and an Easter Vigil the day prior to Easter Sunday. Good Friday Stations of the Cross was held on March 29th. And here you see everyone gathered for the Stations of the Cross. Followed by our Easter Vigil, the flowering of the cross and praying at the cross, Easter Sunday worship service, the children's message at the playground, Easter Sunday fellowship, and an Easter Sunday highlight for the children, the Easter egg hunt. On April 7th, we held a meet and greet potluck in honor of Pastor Becky's mother, Jane Burdine, who was visiting from Kentucky. The session called a special congregational meeting for Sunday, April 14th, for the purpose of concurring with Pastor Becky's request for the Presbytery to end her call relationship with Peace Presbyterian Church, effective April 30th. Also in April, we reached a signed agreement with Northwood Temple Academy, approved by the Presbytery. The leased rooms were cleared out. Representatives from area preschools made donations for some of the items, and Peace donated other items to area nonprofits. We enjoyed pizza at the Pit on April 20th, and on April 24th, we celebrated National Administrative Professionals Day in honor of Marcia Gamet. On April 28th, we held a luncheon in honor of Pastor Becky and Jason, celebrating nearly 6 years of their service to Peace Church. On May 1st, Pastor Sandy Thomas began her tenure as our interim moderator. And a core group of pastoral voices shared the word with us each Sunday as our guest preachers. On May 5th, we enjoyed special performances of guest musicians on clarinet and cello who accompanied Chima, along with his 2 solo performances. Pastor Becky's office hours at Panera became Peace at Panera, beginning Thursday, May 9th from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Appreciation goes to the Freemans for heading up this transition. Presented by Brenda Britt, the Presbyterian women organized the birthday objective and other giving programs throughout the year, including the joy gift, the thank offering, as well as 1 great hour of sharing. The fellowship committee prepared muffins on Mother's Day, muffins for moms, to commemorate that special day. And Northwood Early Education Academy began advertising their move to the Peace Campus via billboards and social media. June marked a time of celebration for our high school graduates, their families, and loved ones. We held a hymn sing on June 16th, with each person sharing the significance of the hymn that they submitted. Sharing their hymn stories in 2024 for our hymn sing are the folks you see listed here. And here they are sharing the personal significance of their hymns in the pulpit and also from the pews. With our choir and Chima providing their musical talent for the hymn sing. Everyone enjoyed donuts for dads in celebration of Father's Day with a lovely presentation in the narthex, thanks to the fellowship committee. Here we see Peace at Panera going strong in July. We prepared our congregational survey for dissemination over the summer. The purpose of the survey is threefold. It provides us with information needed for the statistical reports that we're required to file with the Presbytery and PCUSA. It assesses time and talent interests for support of our committee activities, and it gives us insights from the congregation that help us prepare for the future. Also this month, we kicked off a book study of The Good News from North Haven by author Reverend Michael Linval. After worship on the 21st, we enjoyed a fellowship of cookies and watermelon. One of the highlights was the celebration of Pastor Kelly's birthday. As always, there were beautiful decorations and other special touches thanks to the fellowship committee. Also this month, Chima performed by invitation at the International Music Festival held in Avila, Spain. In August, Reverend Kelly Taylor led us in a beautiful blessing of the backpacks and supplies generously provided by the congregation to be donated to Lucille Souders Elementary School. Here are the backpacks and supplies placed on the chancel, with additional supplies shown here in the fellowship hall. Students, faculty, administrators, and families began a new school year and were recognized as part of the worship service. A total of 28 members and friends were recognized by name during the blessing. After the worship service, we shared a back-to-school fellowship with bagged lunches and drinks and desserts provided, courtesy of the lunch ladies. The nominations committee met 3 times during the month of August to develop a slate of candidates for the session class of 2026. August wrapped with new playground equipment being installed on the playground, and also ladies in a Zambian village who rejoiced over receiving their very own Bibles from the Peace Presbyterian women. What a beautiful ministry. Again, connected to Peace through missionary Karen Buckner, cousin of Phyllis Freeman. We welcome September with Granola for Grands, a recognition of all the grandparents on Grandparents' Day, courtesy of the Fellowship Committee. On September 10th, a financial audit was conducted by our internal audit team, Bill Chater and David McMillan, with Treasurer Lynn Wallace present. In late September, Hurricane Helene struck western North Carolina, causing historic devastation, shortly followed by Hurricane Milton, causing major damage to the Sarasota and Tampa Bay areas of Florida. We prayed as a congregation, and several members offered to open their homes to residents of Asheville who had been displaced. The Presbyterian men kicked off the first Sunday in October with a breakfast fellowship. The Presbyterian women met regularly throughout the year to do book and Bible studies, robust mission work, and fellowship with one another. Soon followed a Meet Me at the Fire Pit fellowship on the 12th. Our congregational election meeting was held the following day, with Elder Bill Chater elected to the session class of 2027. Tom Sawyer Day was held on October 19th to do some fall cleaning prior to homecoming, led by LaRue Walters. Peace Homecoming was held on October 27th, commemorating 61 years of peace ministry in service to the Lord. Peace Church was dedicated on August 4th, 1963. This photo was taken at the groundbreaking ceremony. Special worship music was performed by the FSU choir. Members of the choir joined us for the homecoming fellowship following the worship service. The potluck fellowship was very well attended with delicious food prepared by the great cooks of Peace Church. Early November brought us the sharing of morning, midday, and evening prayer and scripture on Election Day. Our first ever pumpkin and gourd painting fellowship at Peace was a hit, thanks to the Fellowship Committee. It was a great time for fellowship, creativity, fun for all ages, and delicious healthy snacks. We honored our veterans on November 10th with a veterans recognition and prayer during the worship service, and the photos of beloved military service members on display in the narthex. And here are some of those photos lovingly placed, as well as the ones you see here. Lorraine McArthur generously prepared 6 trays of different types of delicious homemade cookies as part of our Veterans Memorial celebration, including our painted pumpkins and gourds to add some fall decor. In our highlights of the worship service, we included these beautiful photos of the Demetros and Freemans visiting the flag display at the Airborne and Special Operations Museum 2024 Field of Honor. This display stands as a patriotic tribute to heroism in honor of all of those who are currently serving, those who have served in the past, and the men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation's security and freedom. As we do every year, as Christmastide approaches, we prepared shoeboxes filled with gifts for children in need as part of Operation Christmas Child, a global ministry of Samaritan's Purse. On November 10th, we dedicated the boxes during the worship service. Throughout the fall months, the Presbyterian men collected clothing and shoes for the unsheltered. New socks and underwear were collected for the children in need at Lucille Souders Elementary. Blankets were collected to support the Peace Unsheltered ministry. We concluded our stewardship season for 2024, led by Treasurer Lynn Wallace, with help from former Treasurer Walt Swing, and dedicated our pledges during the worship service on November 17th. Also on November 17th, we enjoyed a pizza fellowship following Sunday worship, courtesy of Thea Hines. On Saturday, November 23rd, Thea and one of her colleagues provided training in the use of our automated external defibrillator, or AED device, as well as CPR training for volunteers Phyllis and Mike Freeman, Chima Nweri, and Bill Chater. Peace hosted the fall concert of the Fayetteville State University Concert Choir, with our music director Chima Nweri accompanying. There were well over 100 people in attendance from Peace and the greater Fayetteville community. December marked the beginning of the Advent and Christmas seasons, with a calendar full of daily scripture readings and prayer, reflections, opportunities for giving, and events to attend. The first day of December and the hanging of the green marked the beginning of the Lenten season and the lovely Christmas tree, decorated and standing tall. The Peace Post Office opened for business shortly thereafter. On December 7th, Peace hosted the holiday open house and ribbon cutting for Northwood Early Education Academy. Local and state government officials were in attendance, as well as the Reverend Dr. John Hedgepeth and teachers and administrators of Northwood Temple Academy. Peace was represented by Elder Bill Chater, who serves as the session liaison to NTA. Also this month, the angel tree was placed in the sanctuary so that members of the congregation could select a gift tag and provide for a child in need. The Presbyterian men hosted their annual Christmas party on December 13th. And what a special event this is, hosted by the men of the church. It is one that people always anticipate with joy, an evening full of great fellowship and entertainment. Also great food, beautiful decor, and wonderful door prizes. Special thanks to everyone who contributed in 2024 to this very special event, with special thanks to Paula McMillan for all the care she takes in helping the men to make this such a wonderful event for the congregation. The gifts were dedicated during our worship service. These are the angel tree gifts on December 15th. Peace donated gift cards to local restaurants and grocery stores to give access to food during the time that the dining hall was closed at Methodist University to students who were unable to travel home for the Christmas holiday. Reverend Cynthia Brasher led us in a very moving Blue Christmas service of healing and hope. And here you see the table set at the chancel for that service. The Reyes family surprised us with cookie treats in the narthex on December 22nd, following the worship service. Reverend Laura Lupton led our candlelight Christmas Eve service with our annual candle lighting of the Nativity and our beautiful Christmas tree in the background with a closer view of the Nativity table and the lights dimming, with Chima and Julian ready to collect candles as we processed from the sanctuary and extinguished them. During the month, Northwood Temple Academy installed new countertops in all the classrooms, as well as hot water heaters to provide hot and cold running water throughout. Large state-of-the-art whiteboards were installed in each classroom. On the building exterior, landscaping, including the planting of a beautiful Leyland cypress, was done at the back entry. We've had an overview here of events that occur at different times throughout the year. However, there are activities that are constants throughout the year that we do every year, year-round, and should also be highlighted. Every week of every month, we gathered twice weekly on Tuesdays and Wednesdays to offer prayer for those in need and to worship together. We mentioned Peace at Panera earlier, which was another constant throughout 2024 and a wonderful opportunity for folks to gather. Congregational care goes on behind the scenes every day. Past and current moderators of this committee, including Linda Schaub, Mary Smith, Loretta and Walt Swing, and others, have all exemplified what it means for us to care for one another. Individual members demonstrate this care every time they take a meal to a friend, visit someone who is homebound, transport someone to a medical appointment, or share a supportive text, email, card, or phone call. In many ways, big and small, every day, we care for each other. Part of our global ministry is supporting mission co-worker Cheryl Barnes in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Our support of the unsheltered is another constant at Peace. The food pantry enables us to pack a day's supply of ready-to-eat, nutritious food on a daily basis to share with those who are hungry. Anthony Smith generously donated his time to manage the food pantry following Pastor Becky's time at Peace. Our AA ministry is another constant. This group has consistently grown since its founding at Peace in 2017. Peace offers a safe, convenient space for them to meet and continuous prayer for them. We will now move on to the Treasurer's Report for 2024 and the budget for 2025, approved by the session and submitted by Treasurer Lynn Wallace. This information can also be found in the handouts that were made available to you prior to the meeting. Here we begin. We saw considerable favorable deviation from the budget, with actual receipts exceeding our 2024 budget projections. This is due to the new income from Northwood Temple Academy lease of space, which commenced on May 1st, 2024. Our total year-end expenses, actual compared to budget, were also favorable due to the reduction in pastor-related expenses reflected in the salary line. As you can see from the bottom line receipts minus expenses, without new income from NTA and the reduction in pastor-related expenses, our financial picture would have been very different. We ended up with a positive net income of $28.5 thousand for the year. We move now to the 2025 budget approved by the session. In your handout, you will see a narrative budget where Lynn has defined the key expense areas along with total expense projections for each area. This is followed by the approved 2025 budget, which includes a breakdown of expenses within each area. First, with payroll, one of our largest expense areas, you see a significant decrease in total expenses from 2024 to 2025 due to not having an installed pastor for a significant portion of the year. You will note that the expenses related to pastoral care and our agreement with Chaplain Kelly is included here in 2025. However, guest pastor and moderator related expenses are not. That is because they have been moved to the worship committee expense line, which we'll see in a moment. Just reviewing the total expenses for each of our sessional committees, we see education at total expense of $425 and fellowship at $1,500. Projected expenses for these two committees are unchanged from 2024. The worship committee, however, requires a considerably higher budget in 2025 because of all of the expenses that I mentioned related to guest pastors, mileage, and moderator services that are rolled up under this committee. The total expenses projected for the worship committee are $15,715, up from $3,450 in 2024. Again, reflecting the guest pastor, moderator, and mileage expenses in 2025 that were not there in the 2024 budget. Hospitality and growth is unchanged at $600. Also, no change with congregational care at $150. And missions slightly higher in 2025 due to an increase in benevolences or shared mission support with the Presbyterian of $500, bringing the total to $5,976. Admin expenses have increased $4,000 over 2024 due to three additional costs. They are a one-time cost for a new computer for Marcia, an annual accountant fee of $800, and $1,932 annually for accounting software. Total admin expenses for 2025 are $10,062. The increase in property expenses is due to inclusion of cleaning services, which were previously accounted for under the sexton line item, which rolled up into the payroll instead. Also, trash collection is reflected higher than the annual cost to Peace, as NTA pays Peace any overage in this fee from 2024. The other increase is in repairs and maintenance, as we have some very old portable air conditioners in the education wing that require replacement. This is not a recurring annual expense beyond the next couple of years, as the life of these units is 7 to 10 years once replaced. On to the nominations committee and election of the 2025 nominations committee. The nominations committee is a congregational committee and is arguably one of the most important committees, or the most important committee of the church. This committee provides a slate of candidates for the next class of session members, as well as having responsibility to elect the following year's nominations committee. Non-com members are eligible to serve no more than 3 consecutive one-year terms. Prior to naming the slate of candidates for 2025, we would like to take this time to thank our 2024 nominations committee for their service to Peace. They are moderator Bill Chater, co-moderator Brenda Britt, and members Terry Merritt, LaRue Walters, Andrea Barat, Willie Dorman, and Carol Wilhelm. Prior to being slated, each person must consent to serve if elected. Slated for 2025 are moderator Rachel Reyes, co-moderator Bill Chater, members Willie Dorman, David McMillan, Bob Ty, Lynn Wallace, and Carol Wilhelm. Per peace bylaws, Article 11, Section 2, there shall be 7 total members of the nominations committee. All must be members of the church in good standing. 2 of the members shall be elders selected by the session, at least one of whom shall currently be serving on the session and designated by the session as the moderator of the committee. 5 of the members, not persons currently serving on session, shall be slated by the previous year's nominations committee and elected at the annual meeting of the congregation. Members of the committee shall be elected annually, and no member shall serve more than 3 years consecutively. Bearing in mind that any person nominated must have consented to serve if elected prior to the election, are there any nominations from the floor?